and now we have Mr. Reggie Haslam Sr. And I'm really excited to have this conversation because I have a long history, I have a history with this gentleman here and his family because I grew up with his children in the neighborhood, and when I was thinking about, the next conversation that we were going to have, and I was like, okay, who do I know that I want to have a conversation with, who's interesting? Feels like we've done the AUC thing, no hate, but we talk, but I was like, how do we tell other stories and continue to tell the rich history of Atlanta through the lens of someone who's not in my generation? And so I was like thinking about it, and I think I was like around here, and I was like, I need to call Mr. Haslam. So Mr. Haslam is a very interesting guy. His family is really cool. If you don't know them, the Haslams are around here. Raise your hand if you're a Haslam somewhere in the crowd. Yeah, they look alike. You can point them out. But I'm very happy to have this conversation with Mr. Haslam. So I'll read you his bio really quickly, and then you'll understand why he is sitting across from me and why we're going to have this conversation. Mr. Reggie Haslam Sr. Reggie Haslam Sr. is COO and co-founder of Vector Transportation Group. As an Atlanta native, Mr. Haslam's background in the bus transportation industry spans over 40 years. He's led transportation projects for 4 Olympic Games, Atlanta, Vancouver, Salt Lake City, and London, 2 Democratic National Conventions, 3 Super Bowls, and several Indy 500 races. That alone, means he should be here. He's a graduate of Washington High School, so Atlanta, born and raised. Mr. Haslam's entrepreneurship began in the late 70s as the first African American to own and operate tour buses in the entertainment industry. He would provide tour bus services to a who's who of R&B entertainers in the 70s and 80s, such as the Jackson 5, the Commodores, Anita Baker, Peabo Bryson, Shaka Khan, SOS Band, and many more. Later in Mr. Haslam's career, he shifted his focus to major event transportation, so the Olympics and the Indy 500s as I spoke of. Among his long list of major events, he provided bus management to corporate sponsors during the 1996 Olympic Games in his hometown of Atlanta. So that was the first one, and I vividly remember the Olympic Games as a kid and seeing all the beautiful things that were here in Atlanta. It was a great time, and that's old Atlanta that I miss. Mr. Haslam is also committed to giving back to the youth and has dedicated his time to educating youth people on entrepreneurship in the transportation industry. There's currently a documentary called Journey of a Lifetime about Mr. Haslam's life available on YouTube. So I've known Mr. Haslam, I've known his family, and then when I was sent the documentary, he was like, check this documentary out, check it out. I don't even know why you sent it to me at first. I forgot why you sent it to me.
Because I know you need to see it.
Because you knew I need to see it. So he saw it. He was like, yeah, check this out, casually. He was like, yeah, I'll send you the link. I was like, okay. I didn't think he was really going to send it. He sent it. I watched it. And I was like, whoa, this is incredible. It's really, really interesting. And I learned more about my friend's father than I knew. I just knew them as the family that lived down the street that had tour buses parked outside. And I would be like, yo, why did they have tour buses? I had no clue why they had tour buses. So it was really interesting. And his documentary really talks about his life from a child here in Atlanta and then really creating a transportation empire here in Atlanta. And he is truly one of the unsung heroes here in Atlanta. And I'm happy to bring him here to Sweet Auburn Stories. So welcome, Mr. Haslam.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay, so we start these conversations out with something called Wordplay, and it's really just a word association game. What that is I hold up a word. Oh, Wordplay. Hold on, I have a card for this. We're also doing Facebook Live. So if anybody's on there, thank you for joining. Thank you. Wordplay. So I will hold up a word, and Mr. Haslam, you just tell me what you think about the word.
Okay.
Okay. First word or set of numbers. 1996.
The Olympics.
The Olympics. Nice. Anybody else remember 96? Was anybody here in '96 during the
The
Olympics?
folks that sitting on the first row, they really
All right,
remember.
yeah. Y'all were here. Okay, nice. Okay. All right, Master P.
Can't dance.
Cannot
Cannot dance.
Can't dance. So little known fact, Mr. Haslam loves Master P. I didn't know this. He likes him as a what's the thing about Master P that you did?
He's a great business guy.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Yeah.
I like to see entertainers come out of what they do every day and go into a total different field.
Yeah.
And that's what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Master P is one of the...
And Ryan Haslam must have told you about that.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Yeah, Ryan, that's his son there, and that's his other son, Reggie, over there. All right. DNC.
We were blessed because we handled both of President Obama's Democratic convention. And what that means, when you see that, all the people in there, we transport probably about 95% of them for that week. And I think that when we ended up maybe 400 buses, the guy there was involved. I like to bring in people that I know.
Yeah, yeah. What's interesting, and I thought this is really interesting that you said, Reggie, is that transportation is one of those things that when it goes smoothly, no one knows how vital it is. But when it messes up, it goes to the forefront of the conversation. And it's like, oh, the transportation was messed up, you know? And so I thought touching on that business was pretty interesting. And one of the main reasons I wanted to bring Mr. Haslam in and talk to everybody was really because as an entrepreneur myself, and I know as creatives, a lot of us are entrepreneurs, it's important to hear from people that have been entrepreneurs for many years because it's very hard to do. And these are major accomplishments, doing these major events. Oh yeah,
the
correct.
back
Please.
end.
Yeah.
We don't know nothing about bad service.
Right.
So we never hear that.
Oh, that's what I heard though. I heard y'all were all about the bad.
That's right.
I'm joking.
No.
All right. Atlanta.
I kind of grew up on this street, playing basketball at the Y. That's closed. Atlanta Life. My mother worked there. So after getting through playing basketball, I would go up there where she was.
Yeah.
And there's so much rich history on this street. This
on this street? On Auburn?
On Auburn.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Matter of fact, our office is on Auburn. The building where we are, that building is 105 years old. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a great building.
Yeah. They're right at the Oddfellows building.
Yes.
If anybody knows where that is, it's right on Auburn Avenue. Beautiful building, like this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. BP.
BP was a great project for us.
Yeah.
Reggie, is another oil spill you think is coming soon? I like that.
So a little bit of background. You mind giving them a little bit of background?
What happened was when they had the oil spill, they contacted us, and I think we had about maybe 80, 90 buses, whatever, and we were there for like 90 days transporting the workers, cleaning up the beaches. So people don't realize the different opportunities in the transportation business, and that's just one of them, and that list can go on and on and on.
Yeah. So the BP oil spill, that's huge. Like, I hope we get that. Okay, cool. The Jackson 5.
Back in the day, how we got our business, we would go, the Jacksons had a show here. We would go and say, hey, come and look at our bus.
Yeah.
And that's how we got the Jackson 5. And that kind of process needs to come back in today's world. I think what's happening today, the gatekeepers, which I call, think it's all of that. But like my grandmama said, we all do the same thing. Go to the bathroom. So that's how I look at everybody.
Yeah.
And that's the
people.
spirit. It's people.
Yeah.
And that's just their job. The Jacksons was great for us. Once we got them out to the bus, we had their last 3 tours when Michael was there. So that was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. It's funny. On this note, when I was doing my research about, for this conversation, I don't know how I got into a Wikipedia hole, but it happens. But I was looking up your friend, Mr. William from the Commodores, and it was talking about when they found out that Michael Jackson passed, they actually went off stage on their concert and went back and they thought it was a hoax. And they found out it wasn't a hoax, and I guess they were obviously friendly with the Jackson 5. Yeah, and so I was like, wow. And then they like said they were back there and they actually like started crying in their dressing room when they found out it was real.
I can believe that. And the first shows I had ever gone to in my life,
Yeah.
the Commodores opened up for the Jackson 5.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the first one.
Oh wow.
And after we opened the business, probably within 6 months, 8 months, we had both of the acts on major tours.
Nice.
So
Nice.
you never know what's gonna happen tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Beyonce.
She's gorgeous.
She's gorgeous. Yeah, she is. She is gorgeous. Ryan, do you ever thought about Beyonce? Not really. Okay. So this was specifically for Ryan because we have this ongoing debate, friendly debate, I'll call it, about Beyonce versus Michael Jackson, who is the greatest living entertainer. What the lifelong debate that people have. And so Ryan, it's interesting. He doesn't like Michael Jackson, which is weird. He doesn't. No, that's what you said. So that's what I thought. No, that's what I thought. That's what I thought to ask this question because he's more of the Beyonce fan. All right. So that was Wordplay, guys. Thank you. All right. Now, so thank you for those. Thank you for shedding some light. Did we learn a little bit about Mr. Haslam just in those words? All right. So let's get into some questions. Mr. Haslam.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Haslam. Let's see. Where's my?
It seems strange because I've been knowing him so long from a kid.
Right.
A grown man now.
So, okay. So you're Atlanta born and raised.
Yes.
And which is always interesting to me because when I'm out or whatever and people go, oh, where you from? And I'm like, Atlanta. And they're like, oh, but for real? And I'm like, no, for real. Like Atlanta, born, I tell you the hospital, is that type of vibe. So you've seen the city go through incredible change. I mean, even in the past 4 years that I've been back, I've seen this city transform in ways that I'm blown away by every day by the immense traffic, by more and more traffic in places where I didn't expect traffic, where I thought was my little secret place, but it's not. So a part of what we do here is attempt to paint the picture of old Atlanta. So if you could just give us a little bit about this area, like paint this particular corridor for us. When you were growing up?
First of all, when I was growing up on this street here, it was just us.
Yeah.
Just had a conversation with them earlier. Now you see all kind of folks walking up and down the street.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's happening with us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another conversation. I told my wife I won't start preaching today.
Look, we can preach.
But it's just some things. But it's just some things that it's just not feeling good for me.
Okay.
And it's not just this street. It's overall. This is supposed to be Chocolate City. Well, it ain't. And I'm going to go back to 96 and before. When somebody came in here, they had to bring us so much business, a percentage.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't like that no more. And you know why? Because of the young folks. It's something that has gotten lost, and I cannot figure out what it is. When we came up, excuse the expression, we're all grown, we had balls.
Mm-hmm.
And we would fight. We had a fight earlier this year, and it worked because that's what we do. We believe in networking because we understand as an industry, transportation management, that we don't know nothing about. And in all these years for what we do, believe it or not, we're still the only minority company in the country that do what we do. Isn't that sad?
Really?
Now we're happy.
Really?
We're good, but yes, that's a fact.
The only minority transportation management company
that do what we do.
That do what you do.
Exactly.
Okay.
On the event side.
Okay.
On the event side, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's incredible, actually.
Yes.
And why do you think that is?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Why, Reggie?
This is your interview.
Do you have a thought, Reggie?
I have lots of thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just long sales cycles, you know, making
Yeah.
events.
Right.
They, you know, 2 years, 3 years,
Right.
4 years before
Right.
you see something happen.
Right.
So you have to lots of dedication, lots of resources
Yeah.
behind that.
Yeah.
So it's not for the faint of heart, you know.
And the Instagram generation, where it's very like,
Gratification.
you know what I'm saying? Like we're,
That's tough.
yeah, yeah. No, that's really interesting. So, okay, so so yeah, you were painting the picture of this area. So
Yes.
what was it like? Like now I know, you know, we have Sound Table up there, and you know we have church and all these different kind of trendy bars that we have up there now. But what was Auburn Avenue? What when you walk down the street, like what were the types of people you would see? What did it look like?
Just everyday good people.
Yeah.
Again, like I said at first.
Yeah.
Playing at the Y, running up
Yeah.
the street, 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
Kids don't do that no more.
Yeah.
Why?
Inside on the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different day.
Yeah.
And that's another part that I'm just trying to grasp myself because, yes, I want to do this more and more to bring light to people of things that I know for a fact. It's not what I read in the book. It's the true experience of what I have had.
Right.
And that's a total different thing.
Right.
So that's a hard question to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Because things that I remember on this street, it doesn't exist no more.
Right.
And that's what's sad. We had a favorite restaurant that my wife and myself would go to, and we came out one day and they had all these people out there. They was auctioning the building off. And in 3 days, the black people that was there, for ain't no telling how many years, gone. The
Wow.
building now, the white boy bought it.
Right.
And I'm a very open-minded person, don't get me wrong. But they put these people out, and the building now is still empty, and that's been over 3 years. And it's steady going. Like I said, I'm seeing folks coming that's on the other side, steady looking at these buildings. They're not doing it because they ain't got nothing else to do. They're moving in because they see what's going on, and we sit right here and let it happen. Why?
Yeah. I think
And maybe I took it somewhere
yeah,
else.
no. I don't think you took it anywhere else at all. I think it's really interesting. I mean, you know, ownership has always been something that minority communities have suffered with in America, right? And I think like ownership of especially coveted places like this, and it's recently now like it's recently been like a super hot trendy area, Auburn Avenue, because before, like, I know it, you know, some people would say this wasn't like the best area to be or whatever, but I think ownership as a whole is something that we're trying to work on.
Well, you go up to the Curry Market.
Yeah.
Okay. It used to be nothing, 100% black vendors in there.
Yeah.
That was it. You can go in there and they had live chicken. They wrung your neck and you took that chicken home. So, but that's how it used to be. You remember that? That's why you laughing.
Did you grow up in Atlanta as well? Oh, nice. Okay. Around here as well?
Washington.
Okay. Oh, did you all know each other in high school?
Graduated the same.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, you remember certain things like that.
Yeah.
And that's what need to be put back into the communities today.
Yeah.
Tell me how, folks. How do we do that?
Doing it right now.
I think things like this. So like
Oh, okay.
something,
Thank you.
you know, and I completely understand that, and I empathize with that because, you know, for me, I'm like, how do I figure out a way to talk to people in my generation to hear from you? You know, we hear about Martin Luther King, we hear about Malcolm, we hear about the same people, but there are so many giants in the community that I don't think we know about, and I think a large part of it is just knowledge.
Well, it go back to, I take my hat off to all athletes and entertainers.
Yeah.
But if you're not one of those people, for whatever reason, the media feel like it's nothing to talk about for us. Well, my message is, one of them, I'm so glad for all the athletes. I'm proud of them because they make a ton of money. But let's start talking about the people that sign their checks. Let's talk about the people when these men can't run no more because these people still signing the checks. Let's look at, I think Beyonce is wonderful.
Yeah.
But who does she work for?
Herself. Now.
Live Nation.
Now.
maybe
It's kinda
partner
hard
with
to
Live
say.
Nation
Yeah.
or what have you. I remember back in those days when it wasn't number, your daddy, he remember. Nothing but black promoters. That's it, period. Even the acts have started going across,
Yeah.
so that put another set of people out of business. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and so okay, so then transportation industry, it's an interesting industry. It's not an easy industry as we've talked about. It's not an industry. It's not like the one that comes on the forefront of your mind is like the sexiest industry to be in. But I want to talk about kind of how you got there because there are a number of careers, but you have chosen to flourish in a very specific niche, in a space that not many people of color especially decide to go into. So I want to touch on that a little bit.
well, first of all, the transportation business is the third largest business in the world. People don't know that. The third largest. I was at a function a few weeks ago, and this lady was just down in truck drivers. And I didn't say nothing because we have 4 or 5 trucks out on the road as well. One of the things that we do. But anyway, the lady was just down in the drivers, dogging them out. I said, let me tell you something. Let them go on strike and see do you eat that food in the next 3 days. Because it's a myth of the transportation business, but it's such of a big arena. Talk to that gentleman there about cutting grass from Atlanta, Georgia to Birmingham. They fall up under transportation. We all see the Cobb County buses every day, the express buses, right? Okay, and Reggie, correct me. We probably have had that contract 4 or 5 years, probably 300-400 buses that we clean every day. Ask me how many have I cleaned? None. None. But what I'm saying is so many of those kind of opportunities out there.
Yeah.
We do business with a company called Transdev. Transdev is the largest management, number 1 and number 2 transportation management in the world. It's a French company. And so they bid, when you hear a model, I'm going to just use model for example.
Yeah.
You have somebody, a management company behind them actually running what they do. Okay? So when they bid on these hundreds and $100 million contracts, they have set-asides. So out of 236 Auburn Avenue, right down the street, we do the minority business. We find well, not operators, but if there's an opportunity for dispatchers, cleaning buses, mechanics, what have you, throughout the country, we find those people. Is that pretty much right?
That's it.
Yeah.
And so we do that. And I have to say this, it might have been around the first of the year. The Olympics is going to be in Paris in 2024. That company got in contact with us because we have the background of Olympics. So Reggie went to Paris to start setting up that deal. It's 5 years away. But that's arena, the transportation event business, that's what you have to do if you're going to be in that space. And it's catering. It's all kind of stuff that come along with this. This last Super Bowl, we had some people on the ground, and they said, I didn't even know it operate like that. All they see is one phase. But it's people behind the actual games. Some of them make more money than the people out there running. But they don't tell us about that, do they?
Yeah. Yeah, so you experienced a little bit of adversity growing up. And which ultimately, which I found was interesting though, and I got this from the documentary. But you experienced a bit of personal adversity in your youth, which ultimately led you to create a very successful business. And really find an opportunity where you could thrive. Can you kind of briefly tell us how you got into the transportation business and why that business was particularly interesting?
We all have stories. We all have something that we have to base our life on.
Yeah.
As a kid, 12, 13, whatever, went on this bus trip. I knew how much my parents paid for me to go on that trip. I counted the seats. I knew somebody made some money. And from that point on, that was just, if you cut me now, diesel fuel will probably come out my veins now. But I knew from that, that's what I wanted to do. And now, actually, you said 40 years. I think it's about 43 years. Don't take nothing away from me.
All right. Oh, I said over. I said over. So then, okay, so you were counting the seats on the bus, you got into the transportation business, but isn't there a story about like how did you get into transporting celebrities and how did that transpire?
I used to work for Delta.
Yeah.
Actually, I retired from Delta.
Right.
25 years. They gave me 30 years. But I was raising a family. So in my head, I had to raise my kids, married, taking care of all of that. That was number one. Plus, I wanted a pension.
Right. Right.
But also, there was a guy that was there, and true story, he decided to be a promoter. So start working with him, and then I started noticing that back then, the accidents in RVs and that kind of stuff, because the average black couldn't, afford them. So just start researching, and by then, I probably had saved up about $250, and I got some investors and went and bought a bus. Didn't know nothing about the bus.
So you just saved up money and went and bought a what type of bus?
Trailway Bus.
Okay.
I had to get it financed.
Okay. What's the Trailway Bus? What type of?
It's like Greyhound.
Oh, okay.
See,
okay.
that's another. Yeah.
I'm like, are y'all laughing because I don't know the Trailway Bus? I'm sorry. Do y'all know what a Trailway Bus is? Oh, you know what? I'm like, yeah. Do we know what a Trailway Bus is? Yeah. I'm like, what's the trail? Okay. So you got the Trailway Bus. What is the inside of the Trailway Bus look like?
It has a bunch of seats in it.
Right.
So got some more money together. And found an interior company.
Okay.
And took it to them. And when I was telling my folks and friends that I'm gonna take this bus and put beds and TVs, and they thought I had lost my everlasting mind.
Right.
But once I did it, and like I said, shortly after I started getting all these acts, so can I go to the show with you?
Yeah.
So quick things change.
Right.
And that's in every business that's new. And I think, just speaking out, I think there is no bad ideas. There's not. As some of you know, who know about the pet rock?
Okay. The what? The pet rock? What's the pet rock? Do you know the pet rock?
Yeah. He became multi-rich.
Okay.
And basically, all it was a rock.
Uh-huh.
And he sold it to people.
Oh, okay.
And he called it the pet rock.
Okay. Yes.
So if we were sitting here and said, I got a great idea, Alan. I got a rock and I'm going to call it pet rock. You say, what you been drinking?
Right.
So who knows what's a good idea and what's bad?
Right.
So you have to go with your gut feeling.
Right.
Of whatever it may be.
Who was the first entertainment client that you had?
Peabo Bryson. And then did Peabo open up the doors to his Rolodex, like you did so well with Peabo, and then he was like, "Oh, come get Jackson." And it was a twofold thing.
Yeah.
Because by then the guy that I was taking from Delta,
right,
he was really rolling by then.
Yeah.
He had the Jacksons and this, that kind of stuff.
Oh, the promoter.
Yeah, the promoter.
Okay.
And my cousin was Peabo's manager, David Franklin.
Got it.
David was the first black entertainment attorney. Richard Pryor, and the list go on and on and on.
He also has a wife who's pretty significant in Atlanta.
Shirley Franklin.
Yeah.
Well, he's passed.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that was his wife. And so David, he was a strong brother, and so he turned me on, obviously, to all his acts. I had those acts as well.
Right.
So that's how that started, and then word of mouth. There was a brother in Atlanta got these buses.
Right.
Because some of them that we think is so great, hey, man, can you get me out there for a week? I ain't got no money. You'd be surprised.
Right.
You'd be surprised. Great names. One, after a couple of weeks, I had to take, because I had trucks out with him too, I had to take all his equipment, everything, and go around the corner till I got my money. So before he went to the next show. Business is business too.
Right.
But you have those, and that's what taught me, that's just their job.
Right.
But some of us think all of that.
Yeah.
But don't pay me and see what happens.
Right. Have you had to break someone's legs?
Next question.
Okay. So talk us through like what music touring looked like for an African American.
Great.
Before you got in the business. So like you said, they were riding around in RVs. Like were they kicking it in station wagons? Like what was, before you pretty much came in and, I mean, for all intents and purposes, revolutionized this business. What were they traveling in? Like they were just
RVs, just that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And some of them had enough tour money to go out and get buses.
Yeah.
And so, and it gradually went into the tours.
Yeah. So before people were kicking in RVs, then you come up, black guy from Atlanta comes up, and you have a bus, and then you all are literally going around to people like, yo, come look at this bus.
It was dope.
Don't you want to ride around in this? And then people are like, yeah. And that simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
That simple.
Right.
And that's what people today think it take a rocket scientist. It ain't that hard.
Right.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and they trying to get their business together. And
right.
I think the technology, that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
It really is. And I know I'm a dinosaur. He reminds me every day of that. But with that being said, we didn't advertise. There wasn't all that on the internet and all that.
Yeah.
But we got the business.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
What's the difference? People are people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think also, too, there's obviously a hustle spirit that you have. I mean, that any entrepreneur has to have, just a kind of by any means necessary type spirit.
Well, you do what you have to do. Now, keep in mind, we had major tours out.
Right.
And I was still at Delta Airlines at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Okay. So this was on simultaneously.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That was tours, and we didn't have cell phones, so I had to keep plenty of quarters in my pocket.
Which I still don't understand. I'm still trying to understand. Okay, so this is what I was trying to understand. I was trying to think about the other day. So we work in offices. We know what we do. We get there. We log onto the computer. We have our cell phone next to the mouse. You know what I'm saying? We're on the internet. We're pretty much doing emails. That's pretty much what work is, right? Like now, in 2019, you're going into the office and you're pretty much sitting in front of a screen. Maybe you're in front of an Excel spreadsheet or something like that, but you're pretty much in front of like an email screen. What were you doing? Like, that is my question. Like, in 19, and I was thinking about this the other day because I remember you working at home, and I was like, I remember when we got cell phones and things, but I'm like, what were y'all doing? It like, if you were like, okay, no, I'm going to the office, like, were you just flipping papers or like what? Like, what, like, really? Like, what was going on?
Like, and it hasn't changed for me today.
He's flipping papers?
I have a good time. I talk on the phone all day long.
Right.
I laugh and joke with my different vendors.
Right.
We have a good, honest time.
Right.
A good time.
Right.
So, and I can call these guys and say, I need 40, 50, 60 buses.
Right.
For this, and this.
Right.
And then we'll start talking about something else.
Right.
So that's why I say, and it's the same old boys. Ain't nothing different. Because they are my age, and something your dad said a few minutes ago, and he's absolutely right, that we really have to get out here, we, front row and back there, have to really get out there more and talk to these folks because, I hate to say it, but we got less time here than the time we've been here.
Yeah.
And that's for real. So when our generation I believe our generation was one of the first of certain levels. We had a community that was called Gifford Forest. I don't know if y'all familiar. Yeah. Okay. Gifford Forest was on 2020. Do you remember that? It was on 2020. And the reason why it was the first black community with black developers and total black builders right off of Cascade. And we were blessed, weren't we?
I'm still trying to figure out what y'all were doing at the office. Like, that's what I'm trying, because if I go in the office and if I tried to do a day without getting on the internet, it would not be possible. Like, and call myself productive. Like, I don't even know what papers to flip. I don't know what calls to make. Like, I'm just like, hey, come on, we gotta
I have to
set
admit,
up.
I have to admit, Reggie get furious.
Yeah.
Because I love my yellow pad and pencil and my $2.50 calculator that I've had probably almost 10 years now.
Okay.
But, so when I write stuff down, I take it to him. He flips out. I mean, because that's just, it works for me.
Right. Right.
And it's just, I think you can keep it simple
Yeah.
and do major events or
Yeah.
major whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And so that's how it operates. You still
Yeah.
trying to figure it
I'm
out.
still trying to figure it out. I mean, I might try that, and that might be an interesting thing to do. Like, let's see if we can go in the office and not use the internet for a day and see if you can call yourself productive. I'd be hard pressed to do that. I know, like, for sure. People would be like, "Don't talk to me again." Okay, so we see what it was like. We see what African Americans were doing. They were traveling on RVs. They were touring, even though they had major names. Some didn't have money, but they needed to get from point A to point B. Here comes Reggie Haslam. I have a nice bus. Get on the bus. Let's do it. Right? Which is interesting. Okay, so you started in this doing transportation for the music business in the 70s.
Then what?
What was the craziest thing that somebody did on a bus?
I can't say it.
What's the second craziest thing that somebody did on a bus?
It really nothing was
Now,
other than the first thing. But I just
Because I'm just like, what? Okay, you were transporting the Jackson 5, Peabo, Bryson, Anita Baker, like all these people, tour buses. I mean, you spend days on a bus,
And
weeks on a
months,
bus,
and
months on a
months.
bus. So like, what were?
and that's what
Give us the
being
juice.
in being there, and fortunate enough to be on the Jackson bus.
Right.
'Cause this is my bus. I can ride.
Right,
Okay, and to see folks looking crazy in the morning,
right,
white stuff all on your mouth and all that,
right,
you do just like I do.
right,
You just sing,
right,
and you're good at it.
right.
So that kind of stuff again just really showed me
Yeah.
people are people.
Yeah,
But I know when it really changed
yeah.
when the rappers came in.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And when the rappers came in, it got to a point where I can't handle this no more.
Give it to us. What happened on the bus? What they do on the bus? Right. What did?
It just wasn't cool.
It wasn't cool.
No. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna just leave it again. I got to
So
leave it
did
at
you-
that.
I
I
mean-
respect other ladies.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm getting a lot was going down on the tour buses, and
But pretty much the old school people, they were at work because it's not like how people think. When you get off that stage 10, 11 o'clock at
Yeah.
night and you're on that bus for another 7, 8 hours,
yeah,
that's hard. And
Yeah.
then you go to the next city and you're just repeating it day after day after day.
right.
The old school people that I know today, they'll tell you, I can't do that no more
Right.
because it's too much on the body.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a lot of fun. They grinning and laughing
no,
and all
it's
that. It's not.
Yeah.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
The interviews, the sound checks,
Yeah.
the show, back on the bus.
Right.
Just repeating it day after day after day.
Right.
So, but it was very interesting.
Do you have a favorite entertainer that you like? Like a favorite group or favorite group of people that you like transporting?
Well, I used to because most of them that I dealt with back in the day,
Yeah.
they just don't tour like that no more.
Right.
So, and I just don't do it. I turned Ryan on to somebody the other day, and he
Right.
just said, "Forget it."
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Who was it?
Peabo.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. So was Peabo I know, Ryan, what's up? You don't like Peabo? Like Ryan. So that's interesting though, but who was your one of your favorite clients?
I guess the Commodores.
The Commodores?
Because that group was a personal thing and as of today,
Yeah.
it's just so personal
Yeah.
and very personal.
Yeah. Were you on there when Lionel was with them
Oh,
and
yeah.
the whole thing?
Yeah. There was a guy in the office. I have to tell you this
Uh-huh.
and show you how young folks are.
Uh-huh.
Something came up. This was a few months ago, and something came up about Lionel Richie.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, he was something when he was with the group. He said, what group was he with? Webb did not know.
Who told you that? Who said
The
that?
guy in the office. He's
Nah,
30,
man.
31.
Nah.
He did not know Lionel started with the Commodores.
I did some research into that too, and he was you know, he struggled leaving the group too. He struggled.
No, he didn't, but anyway.
Yeah. So you have your own thoughts. Yeah, well, let him tell it. He
Well, you have to be for real.
Yeah.
You know, when you with a group and you see that you can be out here on your own.
Right.
Let's just keep it for real.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about the business
Beyonce.
too. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
about the business.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, and then they went on to still make successful hits and do the whole thing, but he took a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, as an entrepreneur myself, I'm really interested in the journey of entrepreneurs. How many of us are entrepreneurs? And so, how many people would consider themselves entrepreneurs? You can raise your hand. It's a real thing. Are we timid about it? Okay. So that's really good, and I think that's exciting because as creatives, as people in this generation, I think like we are, everyone to some extent now is like becoming an entrepreneur because we have this thing called a brand and your personal brand. You have to manage it and Instagram, blah blah blah. So it's annoying. I mean, it's annoying. So I'm really interested in the journey of an entrepreneur, and you've been one for over 40 years. At this point. So can you tell me about your highest high as an entrepreneur and what did that look like very specifically, and then your lowest low as much as you can tell us?
Let's start with the low.
Okay.
Okay, you know, and I think any company, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It is truly a roller coaster. But a lot of us, we look at, oh, I don't want to work for that black company, this and that, you know. But you can go to Coca-Cola, they laying off, 15,000 people. You think they doing it because they just don't have nothing else to do? All companies go up and down.
Right.
And that's just how it goes.
Right.
So, you know, yes, Vector is on his way back up and has done well. I call myself, he don't like me to say, semi-retired.
Yeah.
But the high, I think the event that really stand out in my mind of everything I have ever done was the Vancouver Olympics.
Yeah. What's up?
We made history, black, white. Nobody has ever took that many buses, over 500, across that border, over 1,000 drivers. It took us, about a year and a half to put that together. And so the Olympics was 21 days, and then we did the Paralympics. So, and one of the best blessings that came out of Vancouver is my little grandson back there.
Yeah.
So he's Canadian.
Yeah.
And I guess they didn't have nothing else to do.
Yeah. So Vancouver, what? So, and they talk about this a little. Oh, he was conceived there, or he was born there.
Yes.
He was born there. So then your highest high was Vancouver because it was just such a complicated, and they talk about this a little bit in the gentleman at Thrasher talks about what a feat it was rather to take this many buses and to coordinate something like that. I mean, I think about like simple things like this, right? And how much this takes to coordinate with like 5 people or whatever, right? I think about something on that scale, or like even putting together a festival, but then going the next level and working logistics for a major event in a completely different country. Like, yeah, and you said people. He said he asked you like, "Are you crazy?" That's what's the gentleman's name at Thrasher?
Alan.
Alan, yeah, he was like, I asked Reggie like, "Are you crazy?" And so, what was particularly insane about the Vancouver Olympics? It was a big contract. It was It was a big. What role did you all play, and why was it so crazy?
We brought all the transportation in for that game.
Okay.
And so we had to do a lot of logistics.
Yeah.
I was in 2 or 3 different locations.
Yeah.
And so you have to put all that together.
Right.
And so, and here's the irony, and it go back to us. Out of all those buses, companies from all over the country, and whenever we do events, I always gravitate to minority companies. That's just my nature.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah.
I couldn't get one to come to Canada. That is
Not one minority company.
not one.
Other bus company.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, okay.
other companies.
So-
and that's why, we have joined this organization, but that's another story. I won't even get into that.
Mhm.
But the thing about it is, we have to be teachers at this point. Folks on the back, this row here, back there, we have to be teachers. And I'm seeing more and more young people, they're listening. They want to know. They want to know, because when we close our eyes, that's it. I'm the oldest of my family. So the people in my family, they ask me questions. I can say anything. Who they going to ask?
Yeah.
So these are things that we have to look at.
And also, like, I mean, kudos to that. That's incredible. I'm also curious, right? Like, when you've built up something that, I mean, from the ground up, like a company, you see it struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, as someone who's obviously ambitious, who's obviously like connected, what is that like? I mean, and as entrepreneurs, we will go through those periods where like things aren't going great, where things have gone great and then they're not going so great. What advice do you have for dealing with those times when things that you've invested so much in don't go well?
Love what you do. If you love what you honestly do, you'll weather the bad times, because that's who you are. I have 3 children, actually 4. That company is my 4th child.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest thing in the world for me was to let my company go.
Mm.
But I understand also, young folks, build legacies. And people are not going to do exactly the way you do. But as long as you're on the same track, let them go. Let them go. How you going to learn if you don't let it go? But that was like letting a child go.
Yeah. So how many iterations of your company have you gone through at this point?
How
Because
many?
now it's Vector, but it was Haslam Custom
It started
Coach.
out
It
as
was
Traveling Eagle Tours, Haslam Custom Coach,
yeah,
International Trailways,
yeah.
and now Vector Group.
Okay, so we're at 4,
Mm-hmm.
and like literally building a company, closing it down, building a company, closing it down, building a company, closing it down, building a company. Now it's open.
Mm-hmm. I'll just change your name.
Just change the name. Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Because going to International Trailways, it's a large organization. It really is.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to dictate to me how I'm going to run my company.
right.
So when we met, I showed them the door. And that's when we changed the name, and ain't nothing stopped. And that's what we have to be strong enough to feel good about ourselves, because other folks really try to, like our president, same thing.
Yeah.
And it hasn't stopped, and it's going backwards. So y'all got to get it together. Got to.
Yeah.
I know I just go.
That was. I mean, that's interesting. And like I said, I'm always interested in the story of entrepreneurs too, because there are days when things are going super, super well, and you're like, oh yeah, I just got this, and this goes well, and people came to this, and da-da. But then there are days when there feels like no movement at all. And as an entrepreneur, if you don't go out and chase your money, then you don't have money. And so I've realized that firsthand. So it's a very interesting space that entrepreneurs reside in, because you build something, you hope people like it, or you hope you get it, you hope you get this thing, and no one else, there's no safety net.
Mm-hmm.
So it's incredibly scary.
Well, like I say, always go with your gut feeling. Because I don't know if anybody had a business that didn't go through a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Major companies that didn't go through a roller coaster.
Right.
Delta Airlines.
Right.
And what taught me was you have to change too. I'm not that person that's all in today's world, but I did recognize, because I looked at these major companies that have folded the doors, like Kodak and Kmart, and just major companies, and I figured out why.
Yeah.
They didn't change with the time.
Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to change with the time
Yeah.
So I had to get rid of my old thoughts
Yeah.
and bring in new school.
Yeah.
It's
What
like,
did that look like? I mean, were you like, okay, son, all right, young people, like,
What
how
did it look like?
Yeah, how did, yeah.
Damn, what y'all talking about?
Right, right. Email. I'm flipping these
Yeah,
papers.
what you talking about?
Huh? I'm
Why
flipping up these.
do the fax machine work?
Right. This is my calculator.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
wrong with y'all?
No, I get it. I
So,
get it.
but then you look at just overall business itself.
Yeah.
And I like to just use a couple examples, especially that one of FedEx.
Yeah.
Y'all familiar with that
Yeah.
story? I think that's a wonderful story because I totally believe in education,
Mm-hmm.
all kind of ways. But there's people that teach one thing. Long story short, the guy was doing his theses, and so I've got the major college where he was.
Yeah.
And it was on FedEx, how to run it. The professor flunked him. And look at FedEx today. That was a young guy that told me we was doing the Olympics.
Yeah.
You might have been involved, I don't know.
Yeah.
And this guy said,
Yeah, I was in the Olympics.
I got a good idea. And what is it? We can sell water. I said, boy, if you don't get yourself out of here, you
Right.
better. Kept saying it, kept registering. Me and my boys, we can stock these buses. Long story short,
Right.
I sold over 300,000 bottles of water. So
Oh, wow.
you never know what's going to work.
Right.
Thank you, Reggie.
Right. So Reggie, that was your idea to sell water.
15, 96, 11.
Really? Throw out those legendary stats. 15, 96 Olympics, $300,000, 300,000 bottles
I
of
bought him
water.
a watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's
That's
nice.
nice.
Yeah, that was nice. So okay, so then, bringing on people with fresh perspective, fresh ideas,
Have to.
and having you as the founder of the company, just making sure that you are able to listen to those people when they have good ideas and trust.
But it also go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
You have to figure out that mix the old with the new.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it's more new in today's time, and I got that.
Yeah.
But one thing you cannot take away is experience.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot take that experience away. And so your mama, your daddy can say one thing, 9 times out of 10 they have truly experienced it. And sometimes they don't say nothing so then you can get a butt whipping.
Right.
And it takes that.
Right.
It takes that.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so you were the largest minority contractor to secure a contract with the Olympic Games in Atlanta. When did that process begin? And what does that look like? So Reggie, you said, I mean, you went to Paris to try and secure your spot for the Paris Olympics, right?
Yeah.
So like you're in a bunch of meetings, like you're speaking French.
Well, it
What-
goes back to our French part.
Yeah.
Talking about
Okay.
public transportation.
Okay. Yeah.
So, we started having those conversations about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I said, hey, our partner is based in Paris.
Right.
Oh, well, it just dawned, like, we can help them make some money.
Right.
And they can do likewise.
Right.
So it just made sense.
Yeah.
So like I was telling you the first, it's long sales cycle.
Yeah.
And one of the vivid memories that I have as a kid,
Yeah.
talking about old Atlanta, right?
Right.
When the Olympics was announced in 1990, that Atlanta was, gonna. I remember coming home and seeing him on the phone, just hustling.
Right.
He was still working at Delta, doing his thing with entertainer buses, but he saw an opportunity from that day. He said, okay, this is a transition, in terms of this major project, major event is going to come to my city. I need to get way ahead of this.
Yeah.
So this was, 5.5 years before the 96 Olympics happened.
Right.
So I was my son's age, so seeing my father with that kind of hustle.
Yeah.
Is foresight.
Yeah.
That really meant something. So,
Yeah.
I think that's the big key. You have to be very quick on opportunities.
Yeah.
And not waste a day. Sometimes it takes a long time.
Right.
But like you said, you gotta love what you're doing. And if you love what you're doing, then you'll see that through, even on those days that nothing happened. And,
Yeah.
just gotta see it through.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, and then tell us one thing that you want old Atlanta to tell. What do you want new Atlanta to know about old Atlanta?
What I want new Atlanta to know about old Atlanta.
Yeah,
Get your balls back.
get our balls back. Okay.
They're lost. I'm serious on that.
Yeah,
I'm dead serious.
yeah,
But I mean, it's across the board.
Yeah.
I see so many things where it seems like we come up with so many reasons why not to do something.
mm-hmm.
Versus just doing it. It ain't but yes or no.
Right.
You know, and I'm gonna go back to '96 since we all.
Yeah.
What presentation? Wasn't no presentation. Just do it.
Yeah. Okay.
That was it.
Yeah.
And we brought in over 200 buses for that.
Right.
From Coke, Delta, and let's go on and on. It wasn't all of that. We make it so much more complicated than what it is. So,
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This
Thank
has
you
been
for having
this is
me.
yeah, this has been really, really good. I think have we learned a little bit about the transportation industry and old Atlanta and kind of like what it takes to be an entrepreneur. That is particularly what was interesting to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And your story is incredibly fascinating. If you all want to learn more about Mr. Haslam's story, there is a documentary again called Journey of a Lifetime, and you can just type his name in, Reggie Haslam Sr. in Google, and it'll pop up, and it's on YouTube. Do we have any questions from the audience that we want to ask Mr. Haslam at all?
I think I'll figure out the question as I start talking.
Yeah.
I just watched on Netflix The Black Godfather.
Yes.
Know it.
Yeah. Clarence.
Yeah, Avon, I know it.
Yeah.
I would rent him buses. He had a couple of acts,
Okay.
and so he would rent the buses.
And so the similarity between kind of what you said was you said, well, what do you do every day?
Yeah.
And it sounded the big thing, and I think the simple thing that you're saying is talk to people, like just have relationships.
Right.
And you said, yeah, we would talk about logistics, but then we would talk about how you're doing, what's going on with you.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if there's a simple way. I mean, so like you said, this is a way to help build relationships. What are some other, I guess, new Atlanta ways or